Hey guys, it's Amy at Zoe Beck, and I'm going to do my weekly reading update for February 2nd, 2020. Oh my gosh, we're to February already. I mean, I'm glad we are because January was a mess. Not so bad for me as for other people, and I'm glad we're just out of it. It was just a long month. It was a lot of working, long days, a lot of overtime. This month is probably going to be about the same, but I can hope for less. Anyway, so I have quite a few things to talk about because I did kind of what I did in the beginning of January, where after I got through a few of the books that I planned to get through this week, my mind just couldn't settle on a book, and I tried several of them. So I've started several books, which is not what I like to do. This is where I get in trouble, and again, I don't know why I'm doing this, but we'll get to that. So this could be kind of a long video, just letting you know, because I read a lot of things, and then, so I'm going to talk about the stuff that I finished, the stuff that I'm in the middle of, like as I started, and then we'll talk about my plans for what I think I'll read in the next week. So the biggest thing that I finished was my buddy read with Shawn the Book Maniac, and we read London Belongs to Me by Norman Collins all through the month of January. This was a great buddy read. I'm so excited that we got to do this and that we picked up this book. Again, it was one of those things where he talked about it end of, I don't know, last year sometime, or early in the year we were going to do a buddy read then, and it just got pushed out, which was great. It worked out fine. It was just one of those things where, you know, I wasn't sure I was going to like it, and I really did like it. So I'm going to kind of echo a little bit of what he said, that that this book was really fun, and it was really interesting to see London in the year of 1939 to 40. So we get the transition from pre-war to during this first year of the war and the Blitz. And I think it was really great to see these South Londoners who are all from this boarding house. Most of them are from this boarding house, and how their lives are affected by their what they do, their consequences for how they decide to do things, as well as when the war begins and how that affects everybody. I thought overall, like I said, this was a really great book. I know it's huge, but it read really fast. It was one of those books you pick up and you just, the pages went by really fast. It really felt like a TV episode, like show, where, you know, you have a lot of characters, so it's a cast ensemble, and then you get to read or get to see everybody, kind of little snippets of their lives and how they all do come together at certain points. That was the best part about this book, is when the whole boarding house they all had to get together because something happened, and how you got to see how almost all of them reacted in that moment. And it was really interesting. There were a few points I was like, I don't know why we went on a little long on that, or a few things that he didn't, I don't think, wrapped up as well as I wanted. So I cannot give this 5 stars, and but I think this was a great read. I give it a solid 4. Like, it was a great read overall, and I'm looking forward to maybe finding some of his other books, because I think he wrote several others. And again, this was published in 1945, so you really get a feeling he knew what it was like he was there during that time period, and he worked in like radio and I think later television, so you can kind of see he knows how to keep the scenes concise, I think, in a lot of ways. I mean, there was a couple I thought he went a little long on, but mostly they were easy bites to read. If you want to break it up, you don't want to read it straight, you can definitely do that. It was easy to put it down and pick it back up, because again, I am not good at that, but this book actually kind of helped me with that. It was much easier to do that. But overall, I really enjoyed this. And as I said, it was a great view of what London was like during those years, and how just normal people had to deal with things. And so I really enjoyed this, and I definitely recommend this. And again, it was a great buddy read. Shawn is awesome as a buddy reader, of course, so it was really fun to be able to do one with him. So after that, I wasn't sure. I kind of as I said, wanted to finish my reread of Marked in Flesh, so I had been reading that around kind of the end there when I finished that book off. So this is book 4 in Anna Bishop's The Others series. So I read the whole series in 2019, loved it, my favorite books of the year, pretty much my favorite new series kind of thing. So I had already started a reread last year, so this is book number 4. Again, this is an urban fantasy alternate history where the North America is mostly woods, and mostly the humans only have kind of small areas that they've rented from the others who are in charge of the land or own it pretty much. And it's kind of a power struggle between what humans want and what the others want. And the small town in, I'm guessing it's New York, called Lakeside. It's had they're kind of in the middle of everything because of Meg, who is our main character. But I just love the characters. Again, this is another ensemble cast that is just excellent. You get to see them through all 5 books. This is, again, book 4 is the most action. Well, no, the other ones have action in them too, but this is like the action pack one of the series. Book 5 is a little quieter, but there's good reasons for that. I know not everybody agrees with that, but I'm looking forward to that reread pretty soon. But I did want to, I did reread that, so that was fun. And then I picked up my library book because it has to go back today, as Night Train to Murder by Simon R. Green. This is the 8th book in the Ishmael Jones series. This is urban fantasy, kind of murder mystery, wait, how did I say it? English country manor murder mysteries with a sci-fi twist or supernatural twist. So Ishmael Jones is an agent for the organization, and this time, instead of going to a country house or, you know, somewhere out in the country, well, they're taking a train from London to Bath on an express train, and they're supposed to protect a politician. And of course nothing goes right, and then we spend the most of the time as it's like a locked-roomed murder mystery. So it was kind of Agatha Christie-like, which was fun because a lot of his books do kind of have that. But you have to also look at it. There's like speculative fiction elements in here because Ishmael is an alien, and nobody knows that except for his partner Penny, who they're just so cute together. And then there's like this one has to do with there's psychics in it, and I'm trying to think if there's anything else. No, probably not. I think the psychics are the thing. It's just, there's like a theme of that was just kind of new. So again, this is book number 8. I would not say starting here. The first one is Dark Side of the Road, I believe. Again, these are short, quick, yeah, Dark Side of the Road. Short, quick books. Again, this was only 170 pages. They're really quick. I always get them first from the library because the hardbacks are so expensive. This small publishing house just think they're too expensive. So I wait for the paperbacks, but like right now I only have 5 of the paperbacks. So the 6 and 7 haven't come out in paperback, and number 8 is already here. But I don't know when the next ones are coming out in paperback. I hope they do. I'd hate to have to switch to hardbacks now, but I might have to. I don't know. I still love these. I'm probably going to reread these when the series ends. It's not the end. The end had not a cliffhanger, but it had a teaser for the next one, which wasn't normal. So now I'm like, but it was just out. So of course I enjoyed that. So, I then, got to, upside down, is I picked up the next volume of The Girl from the Other Side. And this is number 6. This is done by Nagabe, and it is translated by Adrienne Beck. So I'm really enjoying this series still. This was a quieter novel or manga section of the story than some of the other ones, except it was really good. It was really pushing the story forward with good questions, and I'm still not sure where this is going. I think only 7 are out. I don't know if that's the end of the series yet though, so I'm on the waiting list now at the library for that, because it's like, I think I'm number 5, so it's on 1 copy, so it's gonna take I'll probably take another month or 2 before I get it. But I have enjoyed this last year or so. I've been reading these because again I have to get them from the library, but they're it's about a girl who is kind of outcast, and we don't really know why for sure she's by herself, but this guy she calls the teacher has kind of taken her in, and he has his own kind of weird story of why he's different from others, and there's kind of like a plague going on, and then there's the bad people who are in the town who think they're the problem. Anyway, I don't know how to explain it, but it's been a really fun series, so I'm really enjoying it. As I said, this is number 6, and I have number 7. I'm on the waiting list, so hopefully I'll get that probably in March. It might be later than that. I don't know. I mean, anyway, they're really good. Then I picked up one of my other library books. I picked this up just by a whim when I picked up the Simon R. Green book, when I got that on hold. So this is Be More Japan, The Art of Japanese Living. So this was a really, this is one of those discovery, DK eyewitness books. So it has like, it's just kind of like, they used to be really, really big books that would talk about certain areas and certain places. And this one just is talking about Japan. And it's, it was gorgeous, actually. There's a lot of good pictures in here of things. And it just kind of talks about all things Japan. Now, none of this was really like an eye-opener. This was really just a fun read I did yesterday, because I'm going to explain of the other books that I tried that my mind just didn't settle on anything. And I had this one, and I was, as I said, I was just going to flip through it. But I actually read this whole thing. So it was interesting enough. I think there were some times where I wish there was a picture that wasn't when it talked about certain things. But it talked about rituals, and it talked about video games and aesthetics and nature. And it was just, it was a good overview. I'm not, again, as I said, it wasn't anything like I learned anything really, really new. But it was just fun to kind of see this. And again, you have to understand that I spent the end of the 90s, early 2000s watching a lot of anime and Japanese movies and stuff. And so I've kind of gotten away. I don't watch quite so much anime anymore. I am still watching the new Fruits Basket, which I need to get to. But I am, it's still, Japan has always been one of the countries I fascinate. I always read there. Obviously I read a lot of translated fiction from there. So again, it was just a fun read. It was just a, a library book. I just went through it. It just came out, I think, in July or so. So it's not too old. It's pretty up to date on 2019 stuff in there. So, but it really is just an overview of the whole country. It was kind of interesting, some of the history stuff. I wish there's more. So I should really pick up a book about the history of Japan. So if anybody has any recommendations, I'm all for it. As I said, it's one of those countries I just have a fascination with that doesn't go away. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the books that I'm in the middle of. So I paused my audiobook on Simon R. Green's The Man in the Golden Torque because I was going to read Night Train to Murder. So I didn't want to read two of his books, two of his different series at the same time. So I have put this on hold. I did get to 140 pages in the audiobook. I think I still have 11 hours of this. I mean, again, I do listen to 1.5 speed, but still, it's a lot of time. So I will probably come back to this. I am going to pick up a library book today, which I forgot I didn't. I'm going to pick up The Warmth of Other Suns by, I think it's Isabel Wilkerson. And it's about the African-American migration from south to north after the Civil War, I think. And I've heard really good things about it all year, this last year. And I got the audiobook on a sale once. So I'm getting the book from the library so I can track my pages. But anyway, I'm picking that up today. So I'm going to put this one on hold, but I'm going to listen to the other one. That's kind of my entry for Black History Month, or it's just a book I've been wanting to read anyway. So I finally I got it from the library, so it's coming. So we'll see. And then I picked up my last library book that I hadn't started, that I'm not sure I'm going to keep. I might hold on to it because I just got it this last week, so I have 2 more weeks with it. But I'm not sure I want to read it right now. And I might just buy a copy, maybe because they're not so expensive. But it's A Queen in Hiding by Sarah, Kozloff? Anyway, so this is being put out, I think it was by Tor. Yeah, it's by Tor. And her books it's like a series of 4 books. They're going to be released every month. So this came out in January. And then February is The Queen of Raiders, and then March is A Broken Queen, and the Silurian Queen is on April. So it's a series you could totally binge. So I started this on Friday night after I finished Night Train to Murder, and I did read 22 pages. But I wasn't really, I really liked how it started. Like, not like it pulled me right in like that, but it wasn't bad. It was just, I wasn't in because I just read an urban fantasy. I don't know, epic fantasy just wasn't catching me right at that moment. Again, maybe nothing was catching me because I had some trouble with some other books too. But this one I definitely want to read. So I'm going to hold on to this for at least another week. even though it's a new release and somebody wants it after me. I'm going to keep it one more week and see if I want to read it. It is a 496 page book. So to put it into my TBR is kind of a strain of what I want to do this month, but I also really want to read this to try it out to see if I want to get all the books. But right now, as I said, so I might, if I get a chance, I might read a little bit more and decide if I just want to get a copy or if I want to return it and then get back on the hold list. I don't know. right now, I don't think this is what I want to read, but it starts, I mean, it has to do with, I don't remember what her name was. Siluria, I think is how it said. Something like that. She is the daughter of the queen, and at the beginning we know something's a little different about her. We're not quite sure what's going on, and then, as I said, I only read 22 pages, so stuff was starting to happen with the kingdom, and so we're not sure, but at some point she's going to be has kind of get exiled, and then she has to try to get back into it, and she gets to group an unlikely group of rebels together to wrestle the throne from the corrupt aristocracy whose rot has spread through the kingdom. So it's a 4-book series. All books are going to be out by April. So it's a great one, I think, to binge. But again, I'm not sure I can get this into this week, or this next week. So I'm not sure this is what I want to pick up next. So I might return it to the library, either get back on the hold list or buy a copy. Because again, I like the writing so far. Again, I only read 22 pages, so it's not like, but I gave it enough to know that I did like I didn't hate it right off. Like one I might talk about now. So anyway, I don't know if anybody else has read this or is this on the radar. Let me know if you guys have read it, because it sounded really good. And as I said, I do want to give it a shot. And mostly because it's great, because I could read the whole series right in a row and actually finish something. So speaking of another series book, I picked up one of my books that was the oldest book on my TBR. It's not the book that's on my TBR, because it's right there, but this is the first book in that series, and that is My Soul to Keep by Tanan Reeve-Dew. I had to look that up. I'm still not very good at that. Tanan Reeve-Dew. I think that's how it goes. Anyway, so this is, so I don't know how to explain this. So again, this starts out, and all we know about is Jessica, who is married with a young child. Oh, it was a horrible scene. Like, the second scene was just horrible. Trigger warnings for pet death. Anyway, so I mean, you felt right off, you're sad for these people, but I'm still kind of going, this is supposed to be kind of a horror, kind of, I don't know, urban fantasy. I'm not sure kind of the cross yet, because I haven't got very far. I admit it, I've only gotten 26 pages in, and I'm trying to explain why I had trouble with this. So I read a little bit on Friday night, and then I read a little bit more yesterday on Saturday, and it's just not holding my attention. I don't know if it's just because I just read an urban fantasy. I read, the Simon R. Green book, which I loved. So, I mean, not loved. It wasn't my favorite one of the series, but it was, like, still a good one. Or, I don't know. I feel like something's holding me back on this one. So, I am going to put this down for now. Again, all I know about this one is that this woman, Jessica, who is a journalist, is starting to make, is about ready to break a big story, and she's, so she's stressed about all that. This pet just died, which was really sad, and then, and something about her husband she doesn't know about, which I think he's, like as I said, the back tells you he's an immortal. Anyway, so there's something going on with that, because I don't think she knows that from the way this is written. Because again, all of her stress is on her work and the pet, and I don't know. I wasn't connecting with her, and I don't know why yet. So this is one of those books where I don't want to just give up and get rid of both books, because if I don't like this book, I'm getting rid of that book, The Living Blood, which is book 2. And I guess there's 4 books in this series. I thought it was a trilogy, but it's actually 4 books. So I don't know if anybody's read this. The series is called The African Immortals. So again, I just don't know if it's just I had a bad day, like 2 days. My brain just didn't want to settle on it. So I'm not DNFing this yet. but I'm putting it aside for at least a week, probably. Or at least until I finish the book I'm reading now, which I'll show in a second. So, I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, as I said, I haven't got very far. It's only 26 pages, but I'm already like, I don't know. Because nothing cool has happened yet. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being, I don't know what. But anyway, we'll see. And then I just want to quickly mention, I did start another manga. This is Erased by Kei Sambi. Let's see. This is translated by Sheldon Dreska. Anyway, so I don't know about this one either. So it was that kind of weekend. So I'm only about this much into it. Not too much. I did read a little bit last night after I finished the other manga. So this one has to do with, well, here's a boy here. So it kind of flashes back and forth between his, he's 29 and then when he's a kid. I can't remember how old he is when he's a kid. Not very old. I mean, so he has a weird ability that he will repeat something until he figures out what is wrong, and then he can act to help save somebody or to change something. So there's a scene in here in the beginning when he notices that something is wrong, and he tells a young boy, he goes through the loop 3 times and then tells him, hey, you need to walk on the other side of the street. And when he does that, that saves the boy from a car accident. But of course he got into the car accident instead. So there's good gives and takes. So he has this kind of weird ability for that. But he's thinking about this young girl that he knew as a kid who went missing. And so there's something about that he doesn't get along with his mother, who comes to stay with him when after his accident. And she was a reporter during the time. And so she said they helped suppress certain things about that time because something weird is going on. So there's like a story. And I guess there's an anime on this too, so I might have to check that out. But I'm not sure about this one. Like, I'm not enjoying it quite enough yet. So again, I said I made it a little bit of ways in. This is a really thick volume. I don't know how many issues are actually in it. But I'm going to give it a little bit more before I decide if I'm going to let go or not. But I don't know. Have you guys read that one? Let me know. And then the book that I picked up, I looked at my TBR and I'm like, okay, some of these aren't doing it for me, or I'm not in the mood for that. So I go, what do I really feel like? Susanna Kearsley won. So I picked up The Shadowy Horses by Susanna Kearsley. This book is, I think it's her 3rd novel. And it has to do with an archaeology dig looking for the 9th Legion, Roman Legion, the one that disappeared in England way back when. Anyway, so they're in Scotland, and this rich, eccentric archaeologist thinks he knows that this is where they ended up. And there's a psychic thing in here. It hasn't quite got to that point. I know it because this is kind of connected to her later book, The Firebird, which I didn't know until after I read that book. So it's kind of sad that I kind of, because again, I didn't read her books in order. I read The Winter Sea first, and then I read Firebird after that, many years after I'd read that book, because I just never got back to her. So anyway, right now I'm trying to go back and read her books, and I was going to read the book that actually she wrote in between Mariana, which was her first book, and then this one, but I just can't wait. So this one follows, what is her name? Verity, and I'm not quite sure what's going to happen yet, because again, there's some more. I only got 36 pages in last night, but I was really enjoying it already. I dove right in, and I felt a lot better. So I'm going to read this now. This was not on my TBR. This was on my possibilities after my TBR. Oh well, I can't, yeah, it's just the way it goes with me sometimes. Clearly, I'm having trouble. So I don't know. I don't know if it was just, I just tried to force myself to read stuff that I'm not ready to read, or again, I am a mood reader, and so I am trying to read books that have been on my TBR forever, and I don't know if that's probably my problem with My Soul to Keep, that I don't want to read that, and I might just have to give it up and give up both books and just let it go, but I'm going to give it one more shot. But after I finish this book. So this book is a little over 400 pages, so hopefully this will be probably most of the week, the way I'm going right now with reading. We'll see, because today is the Super Bowl, so I won't get to read much because I'm going to go to my brother's house, or my brother's side of the duplex, and we're going to have a feast and a few drinks maybe, and then watch the Super Bowl. So he won't let me take my book. He was offended last year when I brought my book over, even though I never opened it, but so I'm not going to take it over this year. Anyway, so that's what I'm reading right now. So that was kind of weird. The weekend kind of went in all directions on my reading. I don't know. But I got a lot of my library books done, so I'm taking those back, and then I'm going to make a decision about the other 2 library books that I'm keeping. And I'm going to go pick up the one for the audiobook today. So anyway, what are you guys reading? Anything good? Have you guys read any of these books? Have you had a day or a week that just like you can't figure out what to read? I don't know. Yeah. It was Saturday. It was weird that morning because I had to wait because my hair appointment was that morning, and I'm like, well, I didn't want to go out, so I was starting to read, and I was having trouble. I was picking up different books. It was weird. Anyway, I don't do that often. So yep, that's Cooper, and that's it. Let me know how your guys' reading is going, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.